What's going on, my babies? Welcome back to another episode of The Spiritual Word. As always, I apologize for any noises in the background in advance and anything of that nature. And I also like to start these off with a disclaimer by stating that these are for entertainment purposes only. Always do your own research to come to your own conclusions, to make your own decisions, to have your own answers. And I believe in your ability to do so and to be your own person. So, jumping right into today's episode. So, yesterday I did not upload, and the week before was like my break week. And the reason I didn't upload yesterday was because I kept trying to record it and I just wasn't liking what I was getting. So I was like, oh, let me just try to record one last simple, kind of like recap of last week, and it just wouldn't let me. And then all of a sudden, when I went to edit, it was flipped. Like, normally these are taken landscape, but for some reason that one video came out, I don't know the reverse for landscape, but it basically came out like vertical up and down. And I was like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So I was like, I guess I'm just not supposed to upload today. And then, yeah, basically that's it. So with that being said, let me jump into like the recap of what I was supposed to upload yesterday that I didn't upload. Basically, I was just gonna do, all I did was a recap of the week that I'm supposed to be taking my break. And so basically, to recap that week, it was okay. It wasn't like the greatest, but it wasn't the worst thing ever. I had a really hard time staying positive, and I think that was just due to my own inner struggles and my own inner battles, which is why I take those break weeks. And one thing that stood out to me was the fact that I felt like I needed to be doing something when I wasn't doing anything. And so basically, in today's episode, I just want to like move on from that. I just want to give that brief the brief update. And I'll probably do another one tomorrow just because tomorrow's the end of January, so I'll do like an overall update. And probably mix it in with like a regular episode. So today's episode I want to talk about what it means to manifest and how you get yourself out of certain blockages. And blockages that I'm experiencing right now is the feeling or the abundance of feeling not worthy, or the abundance of not being present. I say the abundance of not feeling worthy because that's what's showing up in my reality right now. And same goes for the abundance of what was the second thing that I said? I don't even remember. Basically just like the overall arcing theme of what I've been struggling with and how that's translating into battles. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the reason why people don't feel worthy is because they're guilty, or they feel guilty from something that they're doing. It's not necessarily, sometimes you can feel guilty for just existing, but I want to take it into a even more refined point, just because I feel like people don't really experience guiltiness for just existing, or at least that's not how it's presented to them, they themselves. And when you feel guilty for living, it usually comes out in the certain aspects of like, I could be nicer to people and I'm just not nicer to people. I could be nicer to myself and I'm just not nicer to myself. It could come out in various ways. And so that's what I mean by people feel guilty for just existing. And because this is what I've experienced in myself, I realized that if I wasn't being a functioning member of society or being a helpful member of society, like if I'm not working a job that's helpful towards humanity in some way, shape, and form, I feel like a waste of space. And that week where I took a break really showed that to me. I had a hard time just sitting down and not doing anything. I felt like, well, my parents are going to get sick and tired of me being at their house. And then I also felt like a waste of space just because people have told me that when I was 24, I was already doing this. I had this at 24. I had a house, I had a car, I had my shit figured out. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. And people like to throw comparisons about themselves to me, which is also really annoying to think about right now, just because most of the people who compare themselves to me are like old people. And I'm not talking about boomers, I'm talking about like millennials and like people who are in those ranges in between millennial and boomer. And they just love to compare themselves to me and be like, at your age, I had everybody, I had bought my parents a house, I had bought my parents a car, I had this and that, and I'm just like, okay, like the economy is different, obviously, and I'm a different person, so I can't really stress over that or stress about that. So in those moments where I realize that my blockage is not feeling worthy, I watched Daryl Inca, who is a channeler who channels this being called Bashar, who is a different timeline of himself. And that sounds really complicated, but just is that this guy channels a a higher consciousness, and that higher consciousness describes the method to manifestations and how to get wherever you're trying to get. And something else before I go into what Bashar is saying is that if you're experiencing a blockage, it might be coming from the fact that you can't enjoy here and now. And if you can't enjoy here and now for what it is, and I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about like the real thing. The fact that you don't have money, the fact that you don't have a car, the fact that you don't have a house, the fact that you don't have kids, the fact that you don't have a husband or a wife or a partner, the fact that you're missing these things that you so-called want, if you can't sit and be okay with not having these, that's what I mean by you're not present. And you can be present and sit and enjoy yourself even without those things, but it will also come down to you like, you'll pretend like those things don't exist, and you need to realize that those things do exist, and that's another blockage that I've experienced. And the reason I say that is because you need to be open to the reality of the situation. You can't just like blindly be going into whatever the fuck you're trying to go into without really recognizing the reality of the situation or the circumstances that you're in. And if you're in the reality of your situation and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, it's fine, like I don't have everything figured out, but that's okay, that's where you need to be sitting. That's the present. And that's where you show up the hardest. And that's something that I didn't realize I was not doing. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a thing for you to like fantasize or to have hopeful daydreams or blah blah blah, because I think that those actually do help you because they help you stabilize your mood. But you also have to recognize the reality of the situations. Like you can't just quit a job not having another job lined up, especially if that's something that you know is going to worry you, you know it's going to stress you out, you know that something is going to collapse due to that thing, especially because our beliefs are held up by every single avenue of our life. If we think that if I quit my job because I'm not happy here, I'm not going to get supported by the universe, then that's what's going to happen. So that's what I mean by, take a long pause and realize the realness of the situation and recognize the realness of the situation, because if you're doing things that aren't going to help you, then it's not going to be helpful for you. And if it is something that's helpful for you, then it will be helpful for you. For me, myself personally, it's helpful for me to daydream because daydreaming helps me stabilize my mood right here, right now, and it helps me be in a more positive mood. Versus if somebody who believes that daydreaming is a really bad thing, you're not going to want to daydream because it's going to be a bad thing. And it will play out that way because that's your belief, and your belief creates your existence. So now that I've said that, let's talk about what Bashar channels, or like what Bashar says in these channeling sessions. So he says that by nature you exist. And because you exist, you are worthy of existence, because you can never lose that battle. The only way to not exist is to not be here. And the only way to not be worthy of existing is to not have been here. You're already a person, so you're already worthy. And it doesn't matter if you think that you could be nicer, or you could be quicker, or you could be smarter, or you could have a billion things by now, but you just don't. Don't downplay yourself because you're a human being. And human beings make mistakes. And they go through things that they probably would not have envisioned themselves to go through. And the whole point of existence is to see the good and the bad. If you didn't have those bad experiences, or if you weren't here right now, then you wouldn't know how to maneuver through those things when they come back up. And I am a strong believer in, you go through those things because it makes you who you are, and you're supposed to be that person. So don't feel bad about not having everything figured out and you're like 27. Don't worry about not having shit figured out and you're like 45. Don't worry about having shit not figured out and you're like 60. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get there when you get there, and your timeline is your timeline because you are the only person that's ever going to be you. So In his channeling sessions, he always talks about how you can't fight a battle with existence. You can't fight the battle of feeling worthy, because by nature you are worthy. And to tell yourself that you are not worthy is to lie to yourself. And if you're going to lie to yourself, you have already been lying to yourself. And you need to stop lying to yourself. Because the fact of the matter is that you're a human being. And human beings fuck up. And human beings, we don't even fuck up. We just go the route that we're supposed to take. Whatever we did in our past to make us feel unworthy, or whatever experience we had in our past to make us feel unworthy, was there to help us become this person in the present, to become a different person in the future. So whatever made you feel unworthy, maybe it was parents, maybe it was society, maybe it was yourself, all those things don't matter, and the only thing that does matter is the fact that you're here right now. You are this person kicks ass. And sometimes we have a hard time believing that we do kick ass. Because maybe people tell us that we don't kick ass, or that we shouldn't believe in ourselves that much. But the fact of the matter is that you should believe in yourself that much. And the more you believe in yourself, the more you will show yourself up. The more you will work towards those things that you so believe in. Because everything that we are, we push in that direction. Everything that we want to become, or everything that we believe we can become, we push towards. If I believe I'm a piece of shit, that's the direction I'm going to push myself in. If I believe that I can move mountains and that I can be enlightened in one lifetime, that's the path I'm going to push on. If I believe that I'm just average, that's the path I will push on. And the point of today's episode is to get you to see that you do create your reality. And the only reason that you might feel this inner clash where you feel like you're not worthy, or that might be your blockage, because for me that was my blockage for a really long time, that I didn't feel worthy. By nature you are worthy. You're here, so you're worthy, and there's no rule, or there's no fighting that. And I feel like the reason that people fight that is because other people fight them on that. Like, if I go out and scream out in the middle of a parking lot, I'm worthy, somebody randomly will probably be like, no, you're not. Why? Because that's what people do. That's the point of existence. You have to have that experience. And it is, not such a good experience, but it's there for the balance. Yin and yang is a balance. They need each other. I need somebody to tell me you're not worthy enough so that I can push harder, so that I can put up a fight even harder, so that I know that I am worthy, or else that person wouldn't feel the need to say that. And you know that phrase, haters gonna hate? That's the point. People are going to hate on you. People are not gonna like you. People are gonna talk shit about you. People are going to have all of these different things to say. People are gonna compare themselves to you. You're gonna compare yourself to other people. And that's existence. And it comes with it, and you can't push against it. And the more you push against it, the harder of a time you're gonna feel worthy. The harder of a time you're gonna have making yourself feel worthy, especially if you're fighting reality. You shouldn't need to fight reality for these things to come to you. You should allow reality to bring them what you need. And most of the time when we're lying to ourselves or cheating ourselves out of a manifestation, it's through a lie that we've told ourselves from another person. Or it's through lying to ourselves so that we have to fight in order to stay alive. We're fighting this reality instead of working with this reality. And fighting against the reality is a lot harder. And sometimes if you've never done something, or if something has never been done in your specific family or whatever, then it's going to be a little bit harder, because no one can sit there and give you the roadmap that they took. You know what I mean? Like, for me, if I want to be a YouTuber and I want that to be my end goal, nobody in my family has done that. It's going to take me a lot longer. It's going to take me more dedication. It's going to take me a lot more of fighting with the reality, because everybody wants me to take the normal route rather than to jump off of a cliff and say, okay, it's fine, I'll be caught. I will be caught by a net. When most of the people who didn't jump off the cliff in my family don't believe that to be true. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to fight this reality just like everybody else. I'm going to go with the flow, and I'm going to enjoy the ride. And that's how you do all the things you want to do in life. That's how you stop yourself from being pessimistic. That's how you stop yourself from, jumping off of cliffs that you don't want to jump off of. Like if you take a position in a corporate job that forces you to work way more and you have less free time to go see your friends and family and to be with loved ones or to make memories with the people that you love and the people that you cherish, then that's how things go. If you're not fighting against the grain to do something that really matters to you, that's how life will go. If you matter to you, and you need to really recognize that you do matter to you. If you really matter to you, you will stop fighting the universe because you know that you do matter. And regardless of what anybody says, thinks, believes, feels, that's not their issue. And your life is your own. You're here to experience this, not them, not theirs. And they're not here to experience yours, and vice versa. So with that being said, I'm in this here just because it's really fucking hot. And I don't feel like editing for an hour. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I appreciate you, my babies, for watching. And if science, psychology, spirituality, self-help, philosophy is something that you're interested in, then I recommend following or subbing whatever platform you're on. There's an audio version of this on every audio podcast platform. And there's a video version of this on YouTube. With that being said, if you're new, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. It's been The Spiritual Word. I'm your host, Jackie. And if you're a returning baby, thanks for tuning in and tapping in. I appreciate you as always. And, I hope that these were helpful in any way, shape, and form. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.